and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts.
Right, Chris.
Alrighty, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good day, goodbye, hello, wherever you are in the world, one of those will apply to you. And I do feel like this is an international version, especially for the international break. If Kate suddenly bursts into just one cornetto, that will be for a very good reason, because Craig is on his horns, but he's still coming in live. Now, I've got to say, Craig, it is really big of you, but I don't get any fucking ideas. I ain't doing it in Australia. Mind you, having said that, when it's time to go live over there, you lot will all be in bed here. So, depending on how my jet lag is, I might or may not be up. Thank you. This is LTID TV1 from Leicester Till I Die. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. If you are watching us, and if you're watching us live, please do add your comments in. Try and keep it on topic. Otherwise, we zoom off all over the place and we're here till midnight. And if you're watching on catch up, add your comments below, as indeed did Adam Twynham, who added a very polite comment. Brad hasn't got a clue. Come and actually attend the match and get the facts before you press comment. Still mixing phrases and never mentioning the fact the ref decided the game. And Buenete, which you can't spell, so maybe you should learn to spell, Adam. Buenete has a slight injury, so couldn't start. Look, if he's got let's say, because you're such an expert here, aren't you, Adam? Buenete had a slight injury, so couldn't start. But that injury suddenly, somehow, 60 minutes into the game, was good enough for him to come on. I think you'll find the word you're looking for is bullshit, and that's what's coming out of your mouth. Because you really need to go off and check your facts. And maybe you spell check occasionally and you can spell the players' names. We say at the start, we're not at the match. We don't hide the fact. And yeah, that is why we have Kate on. And yes, you're quite right. Kate is very good and she does know the facts. And that is why also we use Alan, who is at every single game, home and away, to choose the man of the match and choose the what's the word I'm looking for here? Player ratings. I tell you what, Adam, if you are that good, put yourself up to come on a show. Don't be a keyboard warrior. Spout your bullshit live rather than just typing it in. Oh, and don't forget to go and buy yourself a dictionary. It will help, honestly. Or, of course, you could always have gone to school when you were younger. Probably didn't, did you? Look, this is Let's Talk Leicester. Welcome along. Let's get the guys in. Well, hello.
Hello,
Chris.
Just one cornetto.
Buongiorno. Ciao, bella.
Ciao, bella, prego.
Pasta.
You've run out, haven't you, Chris? Can I just say before we start? Now I know you're off to Australia soon.
I am.
And I know you had a. Pardon?
A week
he?
today.
I didn't know. He's not mentioned it.
And I know you've had a sharp haircut. Can we assume that they're doing some kind of reenactment of the arrival of the convicts?
Oh, dearie me. Anyway, Kate, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
I'm all right. And one of you messaged me. I don't know what it is. Was it you?
Yes.
And I wasn't going to talk about this, but I mean, this has literally just come up. But first of all, like I say, thank you both very much for joining us. I've gone very much for the GB News framework here and the way that they do it, so I don't know how this will work. But you please don't jump off the balcony.
No, I'll try not to, Chris. Don't upset me or don't get me too riled. I know it's football and we all love it, but I don't think it's worth it.
No. Well, we'll see what the topics we've got to come up with. Right. Kate, if you want to jump out your window, just go ahead.
Wow.
We have a love-hate relationship, me and Kate, you know. We love ourselves and hate each other. Come on. Okay, Leicester City statement, 3rd of September 2024. Let me read this out because this is new to me as it is
Big
to
info.
everybody else. Let me move my right mouse.
This may be what I've just read as well.
Well, here we go. Leicester City has won its appeal against a decision that an independent commission had jurisdiction to consider an alleged breach by the club of Premier League profitability and sustainability rules, PSR. I don't know about the PPI, but this is about the PSR. The Premier League first referred the club to an independent commission in March 2024 for an alleged PSR breach relating to the assessment period ending 30 June 2023. The Commission dismissed the club's initial challenge to its jurisdiction to hear the case, but the club's challenge has now been upheld by an independent appeal board, which reversed the Commissioner's finding. I wonder if that was held in an Apple store. Well, no, appeal. Anyway, the full decision has been published. I won't go through.
Where's that balcony?
Well, I thought one of you might have come back with core blimey, but if you did. Anyway,
we work on a much higher level, Chris.
How many floors up are you? Leicester City welcomes the Appeal Board's comprehensive decision, which supports our constantly stated position that any action against the club should be pursued in accordance with the applicable rules. To avoid any misunderstanding which may arise in light of this statement, which has been issued by the Premier League in response to the Bill decision, Leicester City wishes to emphasise the finding of the appeal panel that, when considering the wording which is actually used in the Premier League rules in accordance with established principles of English law, bloody hell, the club did not breach the Premier League PSRs for the assessment period ending 30th of June 2023. In its decision, he's still with me, still awake. In its decision, the appeal board, which was made up a panel of 3 experienced senior lawyers, 2 of whom are former Court of Appeal judges, identifies flaws in the drafting of the Premier League's rules. In challenging the Premier League's attempts to charge Leicester City, the club has simply sought to ensure, in the interest of providing consistency and certainty for all clubs, that the rules are applied based on how they are actually written. First of all, look, what does this mean? I mean, I tell you what, we'll go to Kate because Kate is the financial guru that knows and can read all this. What the hell does that mean?
I presume it means that the Premier League has drafted a set of rules which, if you break them, costs you millions and millions of pounds and potentially a relegation, which then costs you more millions of pounds. But what they failed to do is get a law firm or a legal counsel to look over these rules to make sure they're, 1, watertight, and B, would be upheld by these billionaires that would have the right to sue them if they were found in breach of them. So this is exactly what's happened. Top has taken them to the cleaners because he knows they're not watertight. They, by their own admission last year with Forest and Everton, admitted that it was not legal wording, so cannot be judged as such. But if it's not legal wording, then you can't cost a club tens of millions of pounds then, can you? If it's not in law that is what they're signing up to. And it sounds like a Mickey Mouse set of rules that finally will have to be rewritten. And we've won it. Top was right. And I always thought Top was right. I just don't think he'd chased after a lost cause.
But this doesn't mean we're not going to be charged at all, because we've still got the EFL ones from last year, which the Premier League were going to chase on their behalf. I mean, any clearer than mud to you, Craig?
Not a great deal, but I think we can all agree that every club's lawyers that are potentially threatened by some PSR are going to be poring over this decision and getting their own lawyers to do their own stuff. And this could all come tumbling down like a deck of cards very, very quickly. I did say the other week that I thought we would end up being the last ones to be charged on this. And then someone with even more money than us would take them to court and say that this is restriction of trade, that wouldn't go ahead in any other business. that you are not allowed to spend the money that you have in your club. So I think this will be picked apart by every club's lawyers, and we could see the whole thing come tumbling down pretty quickly, unless the FA or the Premier League, sorry, are going to have to spend a hell of a lot of money getting some very, very high level lawyers to actually write something that makes legal sense and would stand up in a court of law. And whoever has already been done by these rules, there's every chance they're going to be putting in another appeal as well.
Well, exactly. I don't know how you get your. I mean, my son's just messaged me here. Is the battle won over the what? I can't understand. He's making less sense than the lawyers. Is the battle won or the war won? That's what he's saying. Is the battle won? So have we just won the battle or have we won the war? As far as I can see at the moment, and if you guys can keep looking as well, I haven't seen any other site that's kind of put it up that sort of kind of explained it in any more detail.
The Premier League, I've just seen the Premier League have put a post up that says the appeal has been upheld by an independent appeal board on the grounds that the club's accounting period, which ended on 30th June 23, came after the point the club had ceased to be a member of the league. The appeal board's decision effectively means that, despite the club being a member of the league from seasons 19-20 to 22-23, the league cannot take action against the club for exceeding the relevant PSR threshold in respect of the associated accounting periods.
I don't want to get too excited. I mean, look, do we believe that the Premier League are going to leave it here?
They have to. I think the appeal board is ruling. Do they want to waste more money on that?
They'll want to save
They've not got
face.
all the money that Top has. Top will keep going with this.
Yeah, I mean, someone somewhere at the Premier League is either having their butt pulled over the coals already, or they're all huddling together in some secret. Well, it doesn't have to be secret, does it? Really, they're huddling together in Chelsea's headquarters to try and look at the rules again.
I'm surprised that it's taken us to do this and not Manchester City, let's say, who have got, more lawyers than we've got fans, probably.
My understanding is that the Man City charges are different, though. There's something to do with other rules that they've broken. That's why they've got 115 charges, because they can't have 115 charges just for breaking the PSR rules. I think their charges are something different.
They're to do with accounting irregularities, which I suppose in layman's terms could be fiddling the books, and that's entirely different. That's fraud.
I feel a message coming to my the guy I spoke to about PSR last time. See if I can get him back on and do this in some sort of English. If I can, folks, and if he is available, I will do that tomorrow. For you, and if we see anything else where it comes up and it's basically explained in a bit more detail, I mean, there is a link to click to go into more information, but I'm thinking that's going to be even more complicated to understand. So, but before we start, let me just say, Brookline says, until further notice, I second and agree with all of Craig's points and disagree with any of Kate's comments on Wilfred Ndidi.
Who's this chap? Where's he come from?
Don't do me knocking. That's our American friends there.
Is that your pseudonym? Are you G. Brookline? Is this your pseudonym, Chris? This is always right. Kate is always wrong. The end.
As if I would do that. I made myself bigger because I felt like I was going to be having to defend myself against the pair of you, so that I'd come in being the bigger man. But let's have a look.
I think you're always the bigger man, Chris.
Well, what can I say that isn't dirty and going to get me cut off? All right, we've got away with that one. Whoopsie-daisy. We're not going to get away with this one, though, are we? Let's start with you, because you were both there. So, Kate, first of all, Fox's charge over players' conduct. I was watching it, and I don't think it looked that bad.
Nothing
This
out
is
of the
about the referees, where we question the referee's decision about the penalty.
Yeah, and Yuri clearly won the ball, didn't he? Looking back at that, so it's no different to what players normally do. I don't think, whether it's a booking, whether it's a penalty, whether they think it's the wrong decision with a throw-in or something, they all react the same. So I don't really know. And also, he booked Harry Winks, so I took that as being dealt with. Like, Harry Winks obviously went too far, so you've booked him. So that's kind of, if you can't appeal bookings or appeal certain things that the referee's done in the game because it's seen as being dealt with. And I think this is a similar issue that it was dealt with. He booked Harry Winks, so that's a notch on his yellow cards, and that should have been the end of it. But my question to this earlier on Twitter is on Twitter earlier was like, if they've been charged, when's the referee getting charged?
I mean, we'll get on to the referee in a second because I do want to talk about him. But Craig, I'm just a bit flabbergasted because every time I watch a Manchester United game, you can't see the referee for red shirts.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things on it. Yeah. Looking back, yeah, Yuri clearly won the ball. It was a really good challenge. If only he'd have put a few of them in for us in his last season.
Yeah.
But somehow he magically won the throw. And I think that was part of what we were arguing about.
Yeah.
Like, if he's won the ball, how has he managed to win the throw in as well?
Exactly.
But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it was something to do with the fact that only the captains, or whether it's the captains and one player can approach the ref this season, whether they're clamping down on that, and we had 2 or 3 going at him. I don't know, to be honest. To be honest, he didn't know what the hell was going on. So I think, it was technically, he probably got most of the decisions right. But there's a way of giving your decisions, and I think that's the issue here. And again, there's been talk of referees being mic'd up. They talked about it from a VAR perspective. This was a perfect example of why referees should be mic'd up, to just explain some of the decisions, because the drop ball that was given on the edge of our own box, for instance, that seemed to go on for ages, and how Villa have not been charged in the same way, because they were all over the ref on that decision. John McGinn was in his face. So I don't understand how they've not been charged in the same manner.
I'm guessing, because they're, in the, Euros, so they're potentially a big club now. I just don't see that we have done anything different to what I've been seeing. And all this sort of, Kate, like, only the captain can go up to the referee. I'm 100% behind that, definitely. But you've got to apply it to every single club, not just the smaller clubs.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. It's just all about the inconsistency again, isn't it? There's inconsistency with the treatment of that. There's inconsistency even with the drop balls. Like, I think a lot of people might watch on here and think the ref wasn't too bad, or he was equally poor for both teams. But even just looking at the drop ball situation, there was 3 times it hit the referee. I've never seen that in my life before. He was constantly in the way, and he's supposed to run the diagonal, and he was just running where the hell he wanted, basically. But even with the 3 drop balls, he only stopped the game twice. It's just inconsistency in a nutshell. In a flipping nutshell.
I thought there was
No, there was a third. I couldn't understand why he didn't stop the game for the third one.
It was exactly the same almost as the goal, because it still retained our possession, but it was in our half, so it didn't matter too much. Like, it just drives me insane. But moreover, I think Steve Cooper was really articulated the point well, while staying on the right side of the Premier League, not getting himself in trouble, when he said, we've had these mandatory meetings with referees and they promised that the threshold for tackles was going to increase. And I did not see that at the weekend. Like, it was so stop-start. It's ridiculous. Any type of contact he blows, if any guy's on the floor, it's just given as a foul. And that's across the board. That threshold has not increased at all.
I mean, Craig, I've got to say, it is completely different watching it on here to watching it live. Because, as Kate said, I didn't think the referee was any worse for us than he was for Villa. But I'm not seeing the whole the whole picture here. Do you know what I mean? Literally, obviously. I know with the drop ball, there was a lot of argument, but I think that was over the fact that Villa didn't want it to go to Leicester, because when Villa took it, they were made to give it back to Leicester, weren't they?
Yeah, there was one. There was one last season. I remember that caused a lot of arguing about an incident happened in the box, and then the drop ball was given out of the box, or vice versa, or whatever. And it's somewhere to do with where the ball stops, or I don't know. I think it gets to a point where the referee takes away the number he first thought of, divides it by 3, and then he works out what square on the pitch that he's going to drop the ball and to which number player. I think that's it. But who knows?
All right. Well, look, we've got VAR back. Kate, how long would it take two supposedly qualified people, to look and go, where did that ball drop? Who did it come off?
Because that's common sense, Chris. Football is obsessed in this country with ambiguity. The greyer the area, the more the Premier League love it. You're talking common sense. Every man on his dog would vote for that, but they just don't do it. The same as they don't sort timing issues out and substitution issues. It's just mental. But that first one in particular, like Craig said, he took minutes to figure out what the hell he was supposed to be doing. And then he said to Villa, I think he said, you must pass that back to the Leicester keeper. Yeah. No, they don't. Or must pass that back to the going keeper, sorry. Like, no, they don't have to do that.
As I say, come up, get mic'd up, tell us what the answer. The reason they're not mic'd up is because I don't think they know the rules. And they would just look bloody stupid when they're trying to articulate a rule that they really do not understand. But what I can't understand is that there's so much money in football, as we know. And I'd like to know who is actually in charge of football, because surely someone has to take responsibility of the refereeing of it. Are they independent? Are they ruled by UEFA? Who is it? Because someone surely should by now be saying that after each game, just as a manager, by the rules of the Premier League, has to come out and do a press conference, that the referees should do exactly the same. 15 minutes after the game, come out, explain any decision. So we're all a little bit the wiser. And it would probably stop a lot of the flack that referees are getting if we could understand the reasoning behind some of the decisions they made. But they don't. They go off into a little tunnel under the pitch, are squirreled out, out of the stadium, so nobody can get anywhere near them. But surely it's time for referees to have to perform a mandatory post-match explanation of the game and the rules that they imply.
Just on that point, and I think it was an ex-referee, Keith Hackett, who used to be head of the PGMOL, which obviously is in charge of the thing, and he said a few years ago that they were discussing the fact about referees coming out and joking, and apparently the managers didn't want it, because they said that would take away their chance of appealing any decisions.
That doesn't seem to make sense.
I don't know. I'm only saying kind of what he...
I know.
But do you think, Kate, that it's a hard job being a ref? The rules are changing that much that every time the season starts, it's a different rule. A handball that last year was this, and handball this year is this. But, oh, shit, I didn't make the wrong decision in that 3 seconds I'd got to decide. Surely we could... Was it Nigel Clough, Brian Clough, that said, football is a simple game? And it should be, should it not?
Yeah, it should be simple, but these rules have been changed over the years. Like, offside was offside. It didn't matter whether you were standing by the corner flag, minding your own business and having a chat with the fans, or you were in the mix of play. Offside was offside. I'd love to see offside get rid of, but that's a totally different conversation, because it's so stupid. Who cares if you goal hang? We want goals. Anyway, but in terms of the rules, they've just made them greyer. So then offside became daylight, and then it became phase of play, and then it became intervening or not intervening. Is the keeper involved? Are you blocking the keeper? Like, it just becomes, and then now it's about what size boots you wear. If you're a size 8, you're offside. If you're a size 9, you're onside. Like, it's so stupid. But for me, I think the referees perhaps need to be more vocal, when these rules are given to them and not just accept them and say, hang on a minute. Like I think you said this on a couple of shows ago, Chris, you went through the new rules, talking about the ball boys, the number of people that can warm up on the touchline, like the sublime to the ridiculous. And you said one of the rules was the goal kick situation where you have like 10 seconds or something to take the goal kick and the ref's supposed to count down with his hands. That didn't happen on Saturday. And Martinez took about a minute each time, as usual.
David Coach isn't one of the best referees, though, is he? And Craig says here, I disagree, Chris. Refereeing is easy when the game isn't overcomplicated, which is what they are doing. Yeah, what I'm saying is, what I said was that it should be a simple game. It's 22 people kicking a ball about. If it goes in the net, it's a goal.
Refs need to speak up more. They need to speak up more and challenge the authority and say, we can't handle this. This is becoming a science. We don't have enough help. The fourth official, apart from checking people's studs, checking your neck, if you're wearing a necklace or not, and holding the numbers up, he needs to be way more involved. Like I said to you before, football's the only sport in the world where timekeeping is given to the on-field referee. That doesn't happen in any other sport.
That's crazy. I think from an offside point of view, I'd like to see the 18-yard box extended to the touchlines, and the space in between, there's no offside. So it's only level with the penalty boxes. That means defences would have to drop off deeper, creating more space for everyone, more space for creative players. And I think it would open the game up. And rather than all these teams pushing up to the halfway line.
But I think it would... with offside for me as well, I hate it how it stops the attack. Whereas I think offside, if you're going to keep offside, make it also defensive. So you can't park the bus. So you're perhaps only allowed 9 players in your own half. You can't just park the bus. So you should bring in the defence as well.
I agree with what you said earlier, Kate. Get rid of offside. What is the purpose of offside? It ruins what is an exciting game, and all right, if you've got offside where you can see, but then again, you'd still be arguing if you could see daylight between the attacker and the defender, you'd still be, well, where was the back of his heel or all that? I mean,
again, for me, any part of a player is level, they should be on, not any part past him. It should be reverse it. But that's another program, I think.
Let me end with this one for you, Craig. How many VAR officials are there for each match?
I think is there 5?
Well, there's 2 main ones, isn't there?
Yeah,
there's 2 main ones. You've just ruined my analogy there, but we'll go with 2.
Let's go with 2.
They go with 2. 2. That's funny you should say 2.
I think there's 2, Chris. Yeah,
you could be right. How many assistant referees have we got?
2.
2. So if you use those 2 VAR stooges to fill in the 2 gaps on the touchline, so you've got 4 linesmen, surely that would be better decision making.
Well, can you imagine that you've got one linesman on one side gives an offside and the linesman on the other side doesn't give the offside?
Well, then the referee has to make the decision because...
Based on what? He's not up with play.
Well, he should be, if he's fucking fit enough.
I think...
As I'm thinking, like, how often can you see where that has touched somebody's hand if there's 3 or 4 plays between you and the incident where the guy on the other side might have seen it better?
Yeah, give them a quarter of the pitch to rule on. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I just think that would be a lot easier than all this faffing about. And why just can't we have a time limit on... I got pissed off last week with that VAR decision for Faye's goal. By the time we actually got it, I couldn't have given a shit whether we scored or not. I really was past caring. As I may have said on bbc.com/LCFC. And I know Kate doesn't like my post this week, but it's posted anyway. Because during the Tottenham game, I don't think I saw VAR being used, but I got to the point. But look, I do think, I hope we fight this as well. I just want to say before we move on, just going across the bottom there. I was going to read this. This is on funny enough, the BBC.com. LCFC.com. Leicester have won an appeal against a decision that could have led to a points deduction for an alleged breach of Premier League profit and sustainability rules. An independent panel found that the Premier League did not have the jurisdiction to punish the club. The Premier League said it was surprised and disappointed by the panel's decision. Leicester said they simply sought to ensure that the rules are applied based on how they are actually written. More to follow. The interesting point there, Kate, that could have led to a points deduction. So I'm reading that and I'm suddenly thinking, well, all right, so the Premier League can't deduct us points for when they want to. The EFL can't deduct us points for last season because we were in the EFL, we're now in the Premier League. So are we not going to get a points deduction?
No, I don't think we will do, because I think the problem started with Leicester is that it always kept falling between two stools, because the rules forgot to accommodate what happens if then a team leaves the league. That governing body then no longer has the jurisdiction over them. So I don't think we will.
Do you think that, Craig? Because reading that, like I say, it looks like let's just get on with the season now.
Well, it does sound like it, but you know, you would hope that the Premier League have had somebody to actually read over their statement better than they've actually had someone to read over the rules.
Well, we live in hope, as they say.
But by saying could have, you know, it does hint at the fact that we're not going to get one.
Yeah. That said, the way we're playing, we'll probably go down anyway. And I want to bring this. This will be our first argument. Craig, I have a feeling you could be the referee. You could be our David Cook this evening.
Oh, thanks. Hang on. Let me get them off.
And you haven't got VAR to help you either. Look, this was the theme of my blog today as the fans view on the BBC Leicester page. I'm going to take out of this the Tranmere game because that was against a League Two side in the Cup. And I'm to be honest with you, this season I'm not particularly bothered about the Cups. It's all for me. Premier League, let's just survive that if we can. Fulham game, we didn't deserve anything from that. We came up against a team that's got an established manager. We've got a team that's got an established squad, obviously made a few additions, and they knew what they're doing. A was going to pass to B. He knew where B would be. They all knew what colour shirts they've been wearing because they've been wearing them for the past 3 or 4 seasons, so they're able to pass to themselves. And they've got a manager who sent them out, you know, with a good game plan. Against Tottenham, we didn't start playing until the second half. Against Villa, we didn't start playing again until the second half. Cooper turns around and says, well, I did think we would be going attacking at some point during the game. Fucking hell, we are at home. Don't be proactive. Don't say, oh, shit, we're 2-0 down now. We better start attacking. Attack at the start. And if you've got players that are injured, but they're better, put them on at the start, get the lead, and then if they can't last, take them off. I wanted Cooper, and this isn't a call for Cooper to go or anything like that. And Cooper was one of my choices to be manager, and I think he will probably still keep us up. But he's got to start being reactive rather than proactive, hasn't he, Kate?
Were you just doing your hardest to goad me there, Chris?
Well, no, I'm just...
No, I agree to an extent with what you're saying, but I think when you're against that top 5 or 6 team, which we were on Saturday, I agree with that sentiment with Everton and Palace coming up and Bournemouth. Like, I agree with that sentiment. But with Villa, if we hadn't have played Wilf, I'm sorry, Brad, I wish we had a better ball player than Wilf. But if we hadn't have played that kind of 8 position there with Skip, then we would have gotten overrun because there's no way Buonanotte would have coped with that midfield. He's too high up and he's not defensive enough. I think if we'd have played more attacking, we would likely have gone in 3-0 down at half-time. What I would have liked to have seen is Cooper change it earlier, possibly at half-time. I don't know why managers are so against changing at half-time these days, but they're really not. And then when they came on, the attacking players came on, we know Yuri starts to blow at 60. We've seen that season after season. And I think picking the subs to come on at that point when the midfield is leggy and when there's other there's defensive tiredness as well, bringing someone fresh on like Mavididi and then El Canus and Buonanotte, I think you could just hit them harder and rattle them better. And we could have won it. And I don't agree with you that we didn't start playing until the second half. I do with Spurs. Spurs was different. I think we were very nervous first half, but we did start playing first half. We did.
I'm going to have to split you children up again, aren't I? I'm sorry, Kate. I can't agree with you. I mean, look, yes, we brought fresh legs on. We brought a different style. But believe it or not, they have substitutions as well. So we bring on different players. They can react to that, Craig, very easily. And look, so what? Villa are a top four side. They're in the Champions League. So bloody hell what? On that last 60 minutes, we could have beaten them. We should have got a draw, possibly, from them. So if we'd played like that from the start, we could have actually gone in and been ahead, and then maybe changed to a defensive style. So all this like, well, we've got to, they're a top six side. Fuck, oh, who cares? Who cares? That doesn't mean we can't beat them. We've played Spurs, who finished fifth, Villa, who finished fourth. We could have beaten both of those, and we were the better team for good parts of the second half in both those games. If we played from the start, then I'm sorry, we could have come away with something, and that is down to Cooper. Craig.
Is there a question there, Chris?
It was just a rant, and you've got to agree with me. It's a rant even more.
I'm saying, do you not? These teams are beatable. We shouldn't be showing them any. Well, you're fourth, so we're going to have to be a bit wary about you. Best form of defence is attack.
It is, but you also just said that in your analysis of the Fulham game, we were up against a team who had played together for many years, who were well managed, well organised, and you cannot, even against Fulham, you cannot go gung-ho. Yes, we could have won that game against Villa, and I will agree with Kate that we were not outplayed at any point in that game against Villa. If you go gung-ho against these teams, they are clever enough and have enough good players to cut through you. So I think it needs tweaking, not an overhaul. I would suggest that I would have preferred to see a different player in there instead of Ndidi. I think pairing Skip and Winks was the right thing to do. I think where we fell down was the fact that it was Ndidi was the man who was in the advanced positions. There was one where he received a great pass on the edge of the box and he let it go straight under his foot. That we were through. We would have taken the lead if somebody up there could have actually put a foot on the ball. I don't think we were outplayed. I would agree that I would have liked to have made his changes 5 minutes before he did, because usually, if you're going to make them at 60, I think they scored in the 63rd something. I think we were a little bit unlucky with that. I get the feeling that his game plan is to stay in the game for 60 minutes and then go and try and win it. The key to that is obviously being no more than one down, and we were 2 down by the time. But I think, but Chris, this is a new team with a new manager. You're not going to get it right from game one. You're going to have to go into these games and tweak and find the sweet spot of getting the right players. I don't agree with every decision Cooper's made, and I think there's more to come from this team. Now the window's shut, we've got options in a lot of places. Are all around the pitch. There are some things that I don't agree with. I'd much rather Ricardo be on the pitch for his experience and his ball use, to be honest, and a little bit of know-how. I would much prefer that Mavididi was starting, but we've got players who can change a game now, and I think he is seeing it as a 90-minute game, not a you've got to go all guns blazing and show all your cards in the first 45.
We've got our epitaph for the headstone when we get relegated. We were a bit unlucky that time. I mean, we were going to be saying that.
Well, your epitaph can be we went all gun blazing from the kickoff and we find ourselves 3 down.
Yeah, we go down fighting, but if we actually go all guns blazing and get a lead, rather than actually.
This is the point, though, Chris. It's
because what I get from what you're saying, Craig, and I'm just saying it's opinions, I'm not saying you're wrong, but what I'm getting from what you're saying is that Cooper's going to sit there, hang on as long as he can, and go, oh shit, we're 1-0 down now, we better start playing.
No, I think he's just going to stay in the game.
39 games, keep coming back.
We are a promoted side. You know, we are a promoted side with some new players in there and a new manager. If we were coming up in Maresca, we would have the continuity, but we haven't got that at the minute. So you cannot just go into games and find yourself 2 or 3 down. We could have been 2 or 3 down in that Spurs game very easily in 10 minutes. That game would have been gone. It could have been horrific, but it wasn't. We got away with it, to be honest, in that one. Fulham, from what I've seen, I didn't see all of it. Yeah, we didn't look like we played well. What I'm seeing is we came up against a Champions League team. I know you're dismissing that, Chris, but we were not second best in that game.
No, and we weren't second best, and that's why I'm saying, Kate, had we gone for it from the start, but you're not going to come back, unless you're Bournemouth, you're not going to come back from 2 goals down, you know, all the time.
Why not?
So so we're going to survive this year. We're going to stay up. No. What you're saying?
You don't come back from 2-0 down. So why do we not come back from 2-0 down? Explain yourself. With half an hour to go, why don't we come back from 2-0 down?
Because we're not good enough. But if we'd played like that from the start, we wouldn't have been 2-0 down.
We'd have likely been 3 down at half time. That's mine and Craig's opinion.
Why would we have been 3? If that
the midfield would have been totally overrun. I would have rather had Ricardo there myself, rather than Will. But we would have been. You think like Buonanotte, although he got the assist against Fulham, he offered naff all in midfield, which is why we got overrun. Because Skip came on really late because we'd only just signed him, so we had Wilf and Winks, and Wilf is not good enough as an outlet for Winks to distribute to because he can't handle the football. Okay, so there's no outlet. When there's no outlet, you rely on Buonanotte, who would not get involved in a tackle because he's a bit like a Maddison. It's not his forte. He's hanging up, waiting for you to get it to him, but you can't get it to him because you can't get it out.
You've got Skip there that's supposed to be defensive. You've got Winks there that's supposed to be defensive. Why can't you have an attacking midfielder on there that's actually going to worry their midfield and attack?
I think you're agreeing. You're agreeing with what we've said. We've both said we would prefer someone else other than Ndidi, which you've just agreed to.
Yes, but what I'm also saying is, and you're confusing me now, but what
that's how you go for the jugular, Craig.
We can't carry on playing games hoping we're not losing after 60 minutes.
I don't think any of us do that. I think what we're saying is...
You've just said we did it against Spurs and we did it against Villa.
We could have been out of that game against Spurs.
We weren't. Could have, would have, should have. We weren't. But are you saying then that we should play the next 36 games and hope by 60 minutes we're not and just start going for it after 60 minutes?
No, what I'm saying is we have a different player other than Ndidi. So when we get our opportunities, we have better, more skillful, more gifted players in the right areas of the pitch to cause problems for the opposition. We haven't got the right players in the right positions at the moment. And that's what he needs to address. Not the fact that you just go all guns blazing. Are you saying that what formation are you playing for us to go formation, and who's playing, Chris?
No, what I'm saying is when you've got, and I'm nothing wrong with the formation. What I'm saying is 3 defensive midfielders at home. Look, Cooper can't win.
We all agree. That's the problem, though. We all agree. None of us, all 3 of us sitting here, would play Ndidi.
Are you saying we should start with not with 3 defensive midfielders, and we should be going for it?
No, what I'm saying, I don't want Ndidi playing in that advanced midfield position. No, not at all.
Ndidi is a high 8, which is the exact point. He's not a high 8. He can't handle it. He can't handle the football. So I'm absolutely in agreement with how Cooper's set up. It's just he's asking a lot and the impossible of asking Wilf to be a high 8 because he's not.
Yeah.
I will go
with. You're saying you wanted us to start like we finished, and that is absolute suicide. That is suicide.
Is it? What, going for the win? Going for the win?
No, you didn't say that. You said go all guns blazing. That's not going for the win. Going for the win.
All right, guns blazing, I may have been exaggerated then. Let's say going for the win.
You've got to play the opposition. We've played 3 games in. We've played last year's 5th, 4th, and whatever Fulham finished, 12th or 13th.
God knows how we would have been. God knows. Look, we may still get a points reduction. So at the moment, we could be on -11 as things stand. But, and I'm being facetious there, of course, but we could have got Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool as our first 3 games. God, we'd have been absolutely hammered. So we've got these teams. Tottenham were
Why would we
beatable.
have been hammered? Because we went all guns blazing?
No, because they are a hell of a lot better. Tottenham are beatable.
And so were Villa. We have to play chess with them a bit. It's honestly.
Sorry, I thought we were playing football.
Through the game.
It was football. I didn't know we were playing chess. Sorry.
You've got to plot your way through the game. Get to each like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30. I'd love to see us get to half an hour without conceding. I'm always looking at the clock and we don't seem to get there at the minute. But you just got to take it in bite-sized chunks, each part of the game.
Based on last season's table, 17 of those teams are better than us.
Not necessarily, only because they're in the division higher. But if you're going off, when you're working out the points, I didn't realise that the ground had done such a good job that the pitch was into little squares so we could play chess on it. Sorry, that's me being facetious again. All I'm saying is, Cooper is absolutely shit. Nottingham Forest was it 2 games he won away from home in their first season up? He can't win away from home. So when you're actually at home, if let's be honest with you,
Chris, can I just stop you?
No.
Did you just say?
If Brendan Rodgers had started with 3 defensive midfielders, we would have been absolutely roasting him.
Did you just say Cooper is shit? He did nothing with Nottingham Forest, but he is the manager that you wanted.
He is the manager I wanted, but he's shit away from home. As per, and that's not my words, that is a Nottingham Forest fan's word.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. So Cooper's not shit away from home. Forest are shit away from home. There's a big, big difference. Cooper doesn't play. He's not out there playing. They're recruiting
He's the manager. He takes responsibility.
They recruited a small village in the transfer window that he had to integrate, and they're still not integrated, which is why they're still fighting for relegation.
So Brendan Rodgers.
If you go on that, Enzo's never managed before. So what the hell did we expect from Enzo last year? He should have lost every game because he's not got any history. You can't just talk about people's history and expect them to repeat it. That's not how it works.
So
different owners, different.
So you were saying when we got Enzo, you weren't thinking, well, hang on a second. His only managerial job's been at Palermo, where they sacked him after 6 games.
Absolutely that. But my sentence didn't end there, Chris. My sentence ended, he seems to be good. I trust the club and go and do it for us. And he did. And the same with Cooper. The club trusts him. He's got a really good pedigree. Forest owners are awful to work for. He had no control over players, and that you judge him on the results that those players then perform. Sorry,
I thought managers
can't win. Just because he doesn't look the part. He's already done and dusted in your view.
Do managers not take responsibility then? Is it not their job? We should have kept Rodgers and sacked 15 players. That's what you're saying then.
I wish we could, but you can't, because that's how
Rodgers had nothing to do with keep picking Tielemans when he wasn't playing. Had nothing to do. It wasn't Rodgers' fault at all we got relegated.
It was absolutely Rodgers' fault we got relegated.
Manager's fault.
But you're judging Cooper 3 games in, and we've had 1 away game. So you are judging one person on 1 away game for a new club with a different set of players. Brendan achieved the impossible and got us the FA Cup, and then he fucked up. I was judging Brendan on what he was capable of with us, and then he absolutely screwed it because it became the Brendan show. With Cooper, I don't know what he's going to do with us because he's 3 games in and the window's only just shut, and some of the team haven't even played.
Sorry, we've only played 3 games. What am I supposed to judge him on?
Well, you're judging him on the Forest stuff, so that's all that.
No, I'm saying that. But my criticism.
I'm not judging Cooper.
Right at the start, this is not. Of course, I'm judging Cooper. He's a manager. That's what my job is here, to judge him. My job isn't to come on here and say, "Fancy coming for a drink, Steve." My job is to judge him, and he's only played 3 games. And I did say at the start, this was not a Cooper out rant. I don't want him out. But
you've sealed his fate. You may as well say that.
No, I shouldn't. I can't.
We're not going to win any away games in the Premier League this year.
I can't criticise a player if I don't agree with them.
Not at all, no.
That's what you're saying.
You're not even seeing any positives with Cooper.
Yeah, but we're not got to the
We played. I was on the edge of my seat on Saturday. It's the most hearted performance I've seen in a couple of years from a Leicester team, including Enzo last year. Enzo didn't get that heart and fight out of that team. No way did he do that, because he was too clinical and too scientific, and he almost wore the characters out of players. On Saturday, I was on the edge of my seat because, like Craig said, for 90 minutes, we were in that game. We were really, really in that game. There was a belief amongst the fans, which is why the atmosphere was electric. And that is Cooper, because Enzo didn't do that.
We will talk positive. We will talk positive coming up.
Chris, what about? Do you think he's got any decisions right?
Yes.
Would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, I think playing Christensen on the left, I think bringing him back into the fold is a very good decision. I also don't think, and we'll come on to Mavididi in a second, I don't agree with that decision. The players that he's brought in, I'm presuming he had something to do with that, he's brought some good players in. I would then criticise where he's been playing those players. Again, we'll come on to that. He's playing a different defensive style. We're not playing it out from the back anymore, which, as you know, I really, really hated under Enzo. So yes, he has got some things right that I agree with. Of course I have. But if I came on, let me just say this: if I came on here now and said all what you're saying, we wouldn't have a show.
Chris, I know you have to stoke debate. We know that. What I would say is, one of the best decisions he made, I thought, was to start Akoli. Akoli showed that he's got the passing ability that Vestergaard has. I thought he was finding some nice little passes into the midfielders. He's got more pace. He's got more aggression. From what I'd seen and heard about him pre-season, I was thinking that we'd bought a real dud. But I thought he was very, very strong in that game, to be honest. And what I also like is that these players who have been brought in seem to have bought in to the club. He spoke very well after the game, saying that he believes in the players. This is Akoli. He believes in the fight. You saw the reaction of Buonanotte when he scored. You know, that was a player who's been at the club a couple of weeks. You know, I think there's a lot to be positive about, and I think there are tweaks that need to be done. And I think all three of us are in agreement about we should not be starting three defensive midfielders at home. We're all in agreement on that one, Chris. I think he just needs to tweak it a little bit, but there's a lot to be positive about.
And I would say that I ate a lot of humble pie at the weekend because, yes, having watched Akoli in the pre-seasons, and you can't watch formations or anything like that because it's all about fitness, etc. But you can watch individual players. Didn't help him scoring an own goal on his debut, of course. That's never a good start. I wasn't sure about him, but he was actually our man of the match at the weekend. Alan picked him as our man of the match. He had a very good start. Now, look, you know, I like Vestergaard. And I asked the question, did we miss Vestergaard? I don't think we did. And I think Akoli has that little bit extra. He's got the speed that Vestergaard hasn't got. So, yeah, I mean, that. But look, like Kate said, it's 3 games in, but my job here is to create discussion and you say stoke the fires.
I mean, what I like is, sorry, Chris, what I like is that if we're noticing things, and hopefully over the first half a dozen games, because I think that's when you're going to start properly judging, that he's noticing things and changing them. The fact that Fast playing on the left-hand side didn't work, so he changed it. You know, he threw out Vestergaard, you know, who'd been there the whole time, and thought, I can't do that. I've got to have Fast on the right. I've bought a left-sided centre-half. I'm going to play him. And that worked pretty well. As I say, there's a clear pattern emerging that one fullback is pushed on really, really high. It was mainly Christensen during this game, and the other one tucks in to form a 3. From that perspective, that might be why he's playing James Justin there, as he sees him more solid as one of 3 centre halves rather than Ricardo, because Christensen naturally just goes forward. You can't keep him back. When he changed it around, the other fullback and James Justin was the one who was pushed higher up. So there's clear patterns of play emerging in these early days. There's just a little bit of tweaking going on. But we are, and I was saying to Scott, this isn't necessarily as pretty as it was under Maresca, but it could be really dull under Maresca as well. But it's certainly more exciting. You know, we're not scared to get the ball forward if that's what it takes. And I think this is something that the crowd can get behind a lot more than Maresca ball.
Do you think, Kate, that Cooper is struggling because he's got nobody that offered that continuity? You know, when Ranieri came in, he had Craig Shakespeare, rest in peace. So if he thought, well, I'll do that, Craig Shakespeare could go over and go, actually, I wouldn't do that if I was you. But Enzo's taken everybody, and there's nobody there that Steve's got from last season to say, that didn't, we tried that, it didn't work.
Yeah, that could be a big part of it, actually. I was thinking when Craig was talking then that I think some of the performances, and I think why Cooper is kind of learning on the hop a bit, particularly before the window closed, was because he didn't really know how our players would fare. And I'm hoping that these, particularly the performance at the weekend and the Spurs second half, that he's thinking to himself, actually, we're a bit better than I thought we were going to be. We've competed in all the games. I can maybe take a bit of a punt and a bit of a risk, and they're better on the ball than I thought they could be. Like everybody that surrounds Wilf in that area at the back can all play the ball really well with a Coley in play as well. So maybe he's thinking, actually, this team's a bit more robust than I expected it to be. We've not been out of games. So let's now push on. So I think that, there was no handover, was there, which would be quite problematic, really.
No. I know you've got to go in a second, Craig, and that's fair. I appreciate that. You're an hour ahead of us, aren't you, over there?
Yeah.
I want to ask you this. I'm just literally just updating what was said about from the BBC about the PSR. So I'll literally be 1 second, and hopefully that will save. So there's the latest information going across the bottom. Do you remember last year, or not last year? Well, it could have been last year. You were saying about it was Cooper. No, I think it was Rogers dying on the hill that was Kieran Dewsbury Hall.
Harvey Barnes. It was Harvey Barnes.
Harvey Barnes, that was it. Well, I'm just wondering whether this is going to happen this season. Will Mavididi be the hill that Cooper dies on? And I'll come to you first, and then I can let you go. You've bought Ayew, who's a striker. He can play on the wing, but against the other, was it Fulham? I don't know. When he brings Mavididi on, he played him down the middle. But both times he's brought Mavididi on, he's changed the game. Should we not be starting with Mavididi and then either Ayew or Vardy in that striker's role?
I would, because I like Mavididi. I think it may need a little more work on the training ground, because as I said to you just in my last comment, he likes to play with one of the fullbacks bomb, and the fullback that bombs on better than anyone else in the club is Christensen. And if Mavididi's playing, he's going to just run into him, to be honest. They're going to start occupying the same space. So I think what he's looking for is a winger who will move inside, and is more comfortable moving inside. So it could be that Buonanotte could occupy that space. It could be Buonanotte on the right-hand side. It could be the new guy, Bilal. But I would like to see Mavididi in there. I'm just thinking that there may be issues with the way he likes his fullbacks to set up. And if he reverts and maybe plays JJ on the left and Ricardo on the right, then Ricardo can be the one who pushes forward, but you're going to have the same problem there with whether he plays Abdul. And I think that's the bit that needs a little bit more work on the training ground as to whether he can encourage Mavididi to be a player who steps inside to allow the space outside for Christensen.
Mate, thank you so very much. Before I go to cover that, I will let you go. Thank you for coming. Have a great holiday in Italy. Enjoy your your time there. Don't let everybody sort of speed past you. You don't want to be, let them go past you at some really quick pace. Have a good time. Where can people find you?
Chris, to be honest, if the gags are going to be that good, I might just hang on a bit longer.
You sarcastic bastard.
You can find me at Craig Bird, on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it.
Brilliant, mate. Thanks very much, and have a good holiday.
Cheers, Chris. Cheers, Craig. Thanks. See you all. Bye.
Did you just say cheers, Craig? Then
think so. Oh God.
Right. I've got to reconfigure all the bloody things now. Oh my God. I'm going to go to the chat, to the comments in a second, because we haven't done that for a while. Just your thoughts on this. Should Mavididi be starting? I mean, I was looking forward to Fatu and Mavididi having to go at those defences this term.
Yeah, I think Mavididi does have to start for me now, because I understand it, because you think he could be a bit of an impact player, like I've said before, because we are going up a league. The fitness and the sharpness of these defences is really different. But I think he showed in the appearances he's made, he can really play at this level. And he is itching to go. One thing about Mavididi, which is different to Fatu, is I think there's a temperament there you have to manage. I think he can be a bit sulky. I've seen that with Winks on the pitch with him last season. Like, Winks had to tell him to buck his ideas up and get his attitude and head on straight. And I think that could be an issue with him. But I think it's just an age thing, isn't it? He's still really young. He's itching to go. He wants to make an impact. And I think now he's kind of done exactly what's asked of him. And with that kind of player, I think it's only fair you get rewarded with a start. You might not be needed for the full 90 minutes, but I think you should be rewarded with a start. Yeah. And he was great. Been great to watch.
Yeah, I think, this is what Gary Lineker says. I think most Leicester fans are slightly baffled as to why Mavididi is not getting much of a look in. He was brilliant in the Championship, and actually both times he's come on in games. The season, he's made a real difference, he continued, this season, sorry. Hopefully he'll get a start, but it's tough for the promoted team. So, yeah, he's obviously thinking that as well. I just want to read you what it says now on the BBC, and it's going across the bottom. Leicester have won an appeal against a decision that could have led to a points deduction for an alleged breach of Premier League profit and sustainability rules. An independent panel found the Premier League did not have the jurisdiction to punish the club. The Premier League said it was surprised and disappointed by the panel's decision. Leicester said they've simply sought to ensure that the rules were applied based on how they are actually written. The Foxes were charged by the Premier League for breaching spending rules. They appealed against this charge, but an independent commission then ruled the top flight could take action. Leicester then appealed against that decision based on the fact that they were in the English Football League, EFL, at that time the charge was issued, and the outcome was announced on Tuesday. Under PSR rules, clubs cannot lose more than 105 million over a 3-season period. Nottingham Forest and Everton both received points deduction last season after being found in breach of PSR rules. It is looking good, isn't it, Kate?
Yes, it is looking good. I think they're going to be going away tonight thinking, where else? What other dark corners can we reach into with Leicester City to try and get them? And don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here thinking that Leicester were angels. We've reached the spending limits, but I think the more and more of these cases that come out, it's pretty damn obvious that the rules are not fit for purpose. Even like the limit of 105 million that was written probably 12 years ago, that's probably the equivalent of about 300 million today in footballing inflation terms. Like, it's not realistic, and it's very difficult to abide by if you're a bit of an up and down club like we can be. If you're absolutely nailed on to finish top 4 every year, you'll never breach PSR. It's almost impossible. But when you're a bit volatile and your income can fluctuate a bit, and you've got a constant balancing act with player salaries, league position, flirting with relegation, the rules But I've said from the outset, and you'll have it on one of these podcasts somewhere, I backed Top 100% because I just don't think he's the type of guy that would ever, ever back a losing horse. And he said it from the off, this was about fair sporting competition. And I hope the other 19 clubs that are watching this, the fans, think that, yeah, do you know what? That's actually a really good outcome for the whole of the Premier League.
I mean, they should be now clubbing together and buying, a cake for
Or a racehorse.
Yeah, it says here. I mean, the Sky are saying here, Leicester City win their appeal against alleged breach of Premier League PSR rules. Leicester have won an appeal against a decision that could have led to a points deduction for an alleged breach of PSR rules. And I guess they've got to say could have, because you don't know. There was, we hadn't been docked it yet, had we? So, it's just great news.
It's very
isn't
worrying to think, though, that what would have happened if we'd have just accepted our fate. Also, Forest and Everton have been punished. Thankfully, they got away with it because they didn't have relegation to contend with because of their points deductions last year. But it would have cost them places in the league for sure, which I think it's worth about 11 or 12 million per league position or something now. Yeah. They're not going to get compensation for that, but they wouldn't have used this same kind of excuse or this same appeal process that we've used. And it just screams of that corruption and dictatorship where you're just expected to lie down and take it, whether it's right, legal or otherwise. And that's just a real worry when it's football.
Yes. No, totally. And I mean, you could argue that getting relegated was the biggest punishment.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's done it, I think. They've not factored in the rules. What happens if they've fallen out the league, because our rules don't extend into another league. And then similarly, we've bounced straight back up. So we've kind of escaped the fire that's chasing our toes and bounced straight back up. So the EFL are like, we can't quite reach you either. And they haven't, we've said this before. I know you had that chap on from the EFL who was really insightful, but he seemed to think that they had covered that in their rules. But I think this proves that they hadn't considered it. And fair sporting competition is what Top kept banging on about in that statement. So I'd be interested to know. I think you can read the legals, and I'll do that at a separate time. Like, you can see exactly what the nitty gritty is to do with that.
Yeah. Well, I've just invited, I had two people. I had one guy on from the EFL, and then I had another one, Kieran Maguire, is the guy that goes on all the TV channels and everything, to discuss it. And I've just invited him to see if he can come on tomorrow night to do, say, another show. So I don't know whether you want to join us for that or no, but there we go. All right, let's just go through some comments, because we got that deep that deep into this that we've kind of missed it. Armchair Jockey said, poor decisions by Cooper cost us that game. Brookline said, who is an Ndidi fan, who got the assist for the goal. Yes, Ndidi got an assist for the goal, and well done, Ndidi. But there was 89 other minutes in the game. And I've just got to say this, right? Do you know how many we did the review show yesterday? Do you know how many points out of 10 Brad gave Ndidi?
No.
3. Now, I've got to say, I wasn't as hard as that, because I thought that was a bit unfair. So I did go 4. Okay. Out of interest, what would you have given him? Because you were there.
I think I would have given him 5, to be honest. I think I'd have given him 5.
Okay, I thought you would have given him higher, actually.
I don't think defensively he was too bad. I think it was his best game of the 3 for me, which I know Brad will probably be having his head in his hands here. But for me, I thought he did quite well defensively. I thought he covered some really good ground. And at times he could open the play up, but it's just the majority of the time with Wolf, and he's great in so many areas, but for that position where he's in the high 8 and he turns and goes, the worry all the time is that his second touch is a tackle. And that is a problem. That creates a problem for Winks. He's under pressure in his own half. And he can only Wolf seems to only be able to pass the ball in a straight line in front of him. He can't sort of spread the ball, even like Vestergaard does. Like that distribution just isn't in his locker. And
No.
Yeah, he's very restrictive going forward for us, I think.
Leicester City, Leicestershire Live, Jordan Blackwell. Leicester City to avoid a 22-23 points deduction after huge win in Premier League battle. So Premier League can't dock us points for last season because we were in the Premier League. If they can't do it for that, I'm reading this that we ain't going to get a points deduction.
I mean, as much as it would have been a hill I'd have died on. I genuinely can't believe that A, it's come out and we've just been exonerated, basically, and B, it's come out so soon. I mean, I genuinely thought this would drag on for months and months.
Yes.
And you just wonder whether they got an inkling, and is that why they were able to maybe push to get the transfer over the line with El Canoes and spend 20-odd million? Like, I don't know. It's interesting.
I just think that we're in a position where we have got these fantastic lawyers that we pay a lot of money for. Not just one lawyer. We've got some good lawyers that have, done all this before. We're not going to do that if they're going to say, look, it's, 60-40 that you might not win it.
Yeah, I think that's it. But the problem for me has always been that they have openly admitted. I think I've had this saved on my phone for ages, because the sentence after the Forest and Everton points deduction issue, that sentence is absolutely brilliant, and it sums them up in a nutshell. And let me just read it to you really quickly. Oh my God, there's been so many. So the sentence was, after the Forest and Everton appeal got quashed and they weren't allowed it, they said, decisions such as these should not be subjected to microscopic forensic examination and interpreted as if they were statutes which have been drafted by Parliamentary Council. Allegations of infelicities of language or errors which are not material to the ultimate decision add to the complexity and costs of proceedings and are rarely likely to lead to a successful challenge of a decision. That basically says to me, we can write what we want. It's not been written by legal experts. It's not passed in law, but you'll abide by them anyway. Now, when it costs you tens of millions of pounds of money and a place in the Premier League, you're not just going to... What idiot takes that lying down?
No. I like you said, fucking well done, Top.
I know, but this is where people don't trust the club. This is where I do fundamentally trust him as a person, as a businessman, to do the right thing. And saying that fair sporting competition statement demonstrates that this is for the good of football. It's not just about us. It's to stop the big wigs picking on those guys that just want to try and dream a bit.
Oh, indeed. Look, somebody agreed with me. Don't know what point it was because it was a long time ago. But look, everybody, please, if you're watching, this is the idea of the show, that if I sat here with the same opinion exactly as Kate, as Brad, as Craig, it would be a very short and boring show. So I do tend to try and maybe poke the bear a little bit, shall we say, Kate?
I'm not a bear.
Well, I'm not poking you.
I'm ashamed today.
Did you? Who done the... let's not go there. Ricky P said, okay, literally, we're just going through these. Hi, Neil says here, hi, Chris. It says on Sky News we will no appeal, no points deduction. That's I've just got a Liverpool fan message me. Doug has said, great news. You got no points deduction. We have options Saturday, but they were ignored. I've got to say one thing here, that look, fair play to Cooper, because had we had the Seal still in charge, he wouldn't have made those substitutions.
No, and I think the same with Enzo as well. That Cooper did have the kitchen sink button, and the fans absolutely loved that. Brendan never did it, and Enzo never did it. And I think that is something about Cooper. I think his subs are going to be one of his strengths. There's always going to be a debate about whether it was the right time, too late, too early, whatever. That person should have started in the first place. But I think he he read the game well enough we still had half an hour. I know people perhaps think that that's still too late, but that for some reason tends to be the usual way of substitutions. But I do think he had the kitchen sink button and went for it. And I love that. I really like that. Enzo was just like for like all the time. It was so predictable. Whereas at least Cooper, for quite a couple of times, at least I think 2 out of 3 games, he's used all 5 subs. So it's really good to see. And you want that as a fan. Okay, he knows there's a problem here. And we're getting some momentum. He's bringing the firing squad on. And it just didn't quite work out. But, Vardy being slightly offside would have got a penalty. There's things that just happen in the games that are such fine margins. But I thought that Saturday's game, I felt a bit like the heart and spirit of the 14-15 season was there a little bit, the Great Escape season, where we were fighting and everybody was fighting. It was really good to see, which lifted the fans. And there's plenty of banter with the Villa fans as well.
Everton would have, Everton are -8. We're -2, I think it is. So, that's the difference. It could come down to goal difference now, of course. I look, Keith said, do you think Enzo would have had better results? I actually don't think he would have done, because I think the way Enzo would have played, I think we would have got punished a lot more. I think we'd have been worse under Enzo. But you'd have had to balance that out with the continuity thing.
Yeah, you'd have got continuity. You'd have probably got an element of predictability, which I never think is good for an opposition. They know what they know what you're going to play. But I do think at first attempt, Enzo cashed in on those real class players that we've got. He knew to shrink wrap Vardy. He knew Ricardo was going to be critical to doing that inverted fullback position. Like, that's the big thing that for Cooper with me. Like, I'm not fully 100% Cooper's amazing. I think he's on borrowed time with this Ricardo issue, and not just the Mavididi hill is he going to die on. Is he going to die on the Ricardo hill? Because he said he's watched all of our games last season. How are you not finding a place for that guy?
Well, that and Mavididi, those are the two, aren't they? You know, and look, I mean, I said to Brad in the review last night, I love Christensen. I think it's great that he's brought him back in. He's got the passion, and that is something that you can't train into somebody. Passion, they've either got it or they haven't, and if that means sacrificing JJ for some games, then so be it. Because I think JJ, he can play. He's one of these. He can play left and he can play right. A bit like AU, can play centre forward, can play on the wing. But he is better on the left, JJ. I've never, personally, in my opinion, I've never liked him on the right. And I think if you start Christensen on the left and Ricky P on the right, there will be a time when one of them gets knackered or pulls something, has to come off, or they got too many yellow cards and they get banned for a game, and then JJ will come into his own. But until that point, I think, like you say, we've got to be looking at Ricky P. I'm going to ask you this, Kate. We've now got an international break. Okay, going back on what you said, we've played a Europa League team and a Champions League team, and an established team as well. We've got Palace away, Everton at home for our next 2 games. If we come out of those with 0 points, do you then start asking questions?
That's a bit of a tough one to answer, because it completely...
I know, that's why I asked it.
It completely depends on the manner of the defeats and the performances that are given. If it's tactical reasons, if it's refusal to kind of accept defeat on your own thinking and accept that you can get things wrong and we just need to change it. Enzo did not have that bit in his DNA. He was never wrong, which isn't not how really sport works. Whereas if Cooper knows he's made mistakes and is willing to rectify them, then it's different. But I think for Everton, it's Palace and Everton, didn't you say?
Yeah, Palace away, Everton at home. Yes. Yeah,
I think we should be looking at 4 points from those. Palace at home are hard. It's the bogey team for loads of clubs. So, like Chelsea fell to them at the weekend, didn't they? Dropped a couple of points against them at the weekend. Like, they are everyone's bogey team. So I'd be happy to go there. I'd be ecstatic with a draw, absolutely ecstatic with it. But they are a decent team. They've got that in Keita, haven't they? Which is why we got Edouard. Like, he's a really good player. They've got some really good players that have been there for a long time to really set them in their groove. But I think against Everton, we've got to be licking our lips and just go for it.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, Brad again thinks 6 points. He'd be disappointed if we don't get 6. I said 4 as well. I would be, if we come out of that with 4 points, I will be very, very happy. You know.
Yeah, I'd be ecstatic because, like I say, Palace are a bogey team.
Yes, and Everton. Look, these are the teams we've got to be beating. You know, and look, don't get me wrong. You know, when you look at like you say, the manner of the defeats is so important. We haven't got stuffed by anybody this season. We haven't lost a 2-0 lead. I mean, you know, we lost a 1-0 lead in from the 92nd minute, but we haven't lost a 3-0 lead from the 87th minute. That was worse than ours, Everton. But yeah, and it does remind me. It reminds me of the Great Escape year because we didn't lose any of those games by getting stuffed.
No, I don't think we lost more than 1 goal, I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe at Anfield, but yeah, we were in every single game.
Yeah, no, and look, easy. I'm not against Cooper. Like I say, I always start, when I talk about this, I always start by saying Steve Cooper was one of my 3 choices. And I was very, very happy when we got him. And I'm not going to sit here after 3 games and said he should go or he's not going to do this. I'm going to sit here after 3 games and criticise what I think he's done wrong, and I'm entitled to do that. And Kate's going to sit here and say I'm talking bollocks, and she's going to come back with what she thinks he's done right. That's what we're here for. Do you know what I mean? That's the essence of this show. It is Let's Talk Leicester. Enzo Ball deluded. Thank God he's gone. I want to ask you about Edouard because, again, I was pleased we got him. He hasn't got the best scoring record in the league, but he's a big bugger up front, so if we can get crosses in. But we needed a striker. Now, I can I just read something to you because I said this on the. Let me just get it up on X on Friday night on the show about the transfer. I messaged Rob Tanner and I said to Rob Tanner, "Is Edouard our striker saviour?" Do you want to know? Well, if you do want to know, I'm going to tell you anyway what he said back to me. He said, "No, absolutely not. It's a deal that has emerged late as Palace want to get Nikita in and need to make room. LCFC are doing the formalities just in case, but he wasn't the one they were actively chasing. And all the Palace fans I work with say he's shit, by the way. It's max of appeasing a disgruntled fan base, but I don't think it will."
Who wrote that? Rob Tanner?
Rob Tanner, yeah.
I
mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like getting Messi in, is it, or whatever? It is Edouard, but this is
not at all. But we have to remember our pecking order. Like as Craig said, we are the newly promoted team. Whether you think we deserve to get relegated, or whether you think actually, when you average it out, we're probably mid-table this year on performance and team sheets, we're not. We're a newly promoted team, and we have tried to go for some better players and more established players. Like the Adam Hlocek thing is the key example. He looks a great player, but because Jorginho Rutter went from Leeds to Brighton and Hoffenheim got a cut of that money, Hoffenheim could then afford to buy Adam Hlocek. A lot of it isn't in our hands, and it's not no surprise that when we're going after players and strikers, so are lots of other clubs. And it depends on terms, it depends on agent deals, backhanders, you name it. That I think Adam Hlocek thought they're a European club and they're in the country that I currently play in, so I don't have to move house. That's probably one of the things that he was looking at. And we can't do anything about that, no matter how much we offer. So we just have to remember there's a lot at play. And I don't think I don't think Top's the kind of type of person to recruit somebody to appease a fan base. I think he was after a striker, and this one came up, and it was easy, and it was a definite done deal, and it was easy to get over the line. I still don't think we'd hire an unsuitable player. We've learned, hopefully, from our mistakes in the past with that.
And he's only on loan.
Sorry,
he's only on loan.
Yes, he is only on loan. Yeah, he is only on loan. So that's what I mean.
Probably means he can't play against Palace, of course. But
no, he can't play against Palace.
No. But I mean, look, like you said, it's not a case that we are having to shop now at Aldi. I mean, last season we were probably shopping at Lidl, but we're back up to Sainsbury's at the moment, or Asda. We're not shopping back up in like yourself in Waitrose or shops like that. But we don't want to sort of be in the position where we've gone all through this, won this appeal against the points deduction, and then do it again this season and get relegated and have that hanging over us if we come back up. So it is a very fine balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think, we totted up how much money was spent on transfer fees. I think someone tossed it up on Twitter, and it's like 70 odd million, which doesn't scream of a club with PSR issues. But similarly, I think the transfer fees are always a bit of a red herring because they get amortized over a number of years. Whereas it's good. The crux of the matter is what wages are we paying these players? And from what I've read and different things about the league in general, a lot of these transfers this summer across all 20 clubs, the wages have come down because they've had to. Like, you cannot pay. That's why probably lots of these Chelsea players have got longer contracts, because you can get the same amount of money, but we're just going to have to lengthen that contract because we can't afford to pay you in a shorter time period. So that's the crux for Leicester City. What are they committing to on a regular basis on a wage bill? And I'm hoping that they've learnt the lesson with that, really.
Rob says, I don't know whether you want to comment on this, disgraceful Leicester openly flouting the rules and getting away with it on a technicality. Maybe, Rob, I don't know what team you support, Rob, so I can't come back to you on that. But maybe we've just got better lawyers than a lot of other clubs.
Yeah, maybe so.
And we're not actually flouting the rules because we've won the appeal, which means that we stuck within the rules, but the Premier League didn't, if you read it.
Yeah, I mean, I find it very odd that point of view generally, because whatever team Rob supports, that decision today has probably helped his team. Because it's honestly set a precedent. Like Craig and I said earlier, Man City is a bit different because it's accounting irregularities. But in terms of PSR and the reach it has and the impact it can have, and a law unto themselves basically up until this point, I think it's done every single. I feel like Alex Ferguson when Newcastle got Alan Shearer, but I feel like we've done every club a favour by getting this decision overturned, because it's a massive line in the sand for loads of clubs. It doesn't
benefit us, does it? Because we weren't the only club. When I had that Kieran Maguire on pre-season, there are 4 other clubs in this division that were struggling and could be done for PSR.
Yeah.
3 of those are in the Midlands, so you can work out who those were. And, this is why we've seen a transfer window that's been so weird, with lots of players being swapped and youngsters being sold. It's pathetic. That's bending the rules. That's flouting the rules. But it isn't, because it's within the rules. So it's within the rules.
Exactly. To use the word disgraceful, I think the only bit of that's applicable is the rules themselves. The rules themselves are disgraceful. Like, if you actually sit there, if that fan Rob wants to look at the rules, it stops teams doing a Leicester City on purpose. And that, to me, has no interest in sport. If you can't have the underdog winning, if you can't have the teams that challenge and are bottom of the league one year and work their way up, if you can't have that in football, then what is the point? You just want Man City to win it every year. You just want the same top 4 every year. They've changed the Champions League format now to suit those clubs. Like, is that what you want? If you want a foregone conclusion, then watch Back to the Future and buy the almanac. Because that's what it will be like. You'll know all the results of every club every season,
I've got no comeback to that one. you shot me down with that one. Graham Potter is kicking himself. No points deduction, no England job, no job at all. But he's still getting paid by Chelsea, so he's happy. Rob from the West Ham Massive is in. How you doing, Rob? Be interesting to hear your take on us getting off with the PSR. Whether you think it's disgraceful. I don't think it is, because we've got, it's just been said that we haven't broken any rules. So how is that disgraceful? We stayed within the rules. Do you think, I think I'm going to ask you this, do you think, Kate, that, and I'm conscious of the time and what have you, so, but do you think now that this is going to be a weight off Steve's and the team's shoulders?
Yes, but I've just been thinking about this since the news broke while we're just doing this podcast now. The only thing is this the final sting in the tail, and this is with just the Premier League saying stuff you, is they've made that decision after the window's closed. And I can't help but being a bit cynical about that, really. But I think it will be a massive weight off their minds for sure. It must be great to think that that's not looming and, a shadow over everything, really. And you're worried because we didn't know what date it was going to come out. The longer it went on, the more nervous you get about it. So I think it can only be good news, can't it? It can only be a lift. And hopefully with the conversations he's had with Top, I'm hoping Cooper's thinking, oh yeah, I can trust this guy as an employer. I can trust him. They know what they're doing.
Yes. Rebecca's just called, says Bookline, party at Vardy's, no points deduction.
What's that one say? Let's be real here as well. The balls are daft. I don't know if it goes to the club so much money, I think. Yeah, exactly that. Like that was the argument that people kept saying, that we were silly to get relegated with the 7th highest wage bill in the division. Well, we can't do anything about the wage bill. We can't do anything about it. So, and we were 5th and 8th before that. So the fact that we had a top 7 wage bill doesn't really feel out of sorts when you're 5th and 8th. But it's when you have a crap year, the rules can screw you over. And if they were put in place properly and the Premier League got their way, it's almost impossible to climb out of that hole.
Yeah. And we, as we always say, we chased the dream, didn't we?
We chased the dream and we got it, and we annoyed a hell of a lot of people on the way up, and we're still pissing people off on the way back.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, had those fans would have been going mad if we'd won the league and got into the Champions League and then got into the Europa League, and we suddenly started to say, "Well, hang on, we can't afford this. We're going to have to sort of cut back and not buy such good players." Fans would have been going mad, wouldn't they? It was a no-win situation. We chased a dream, and I think you had to look at that the Qatar World Cup year, where we didn't buy anybody until we sold Fofana in that transfer window, because UEFA had said, "Hang on, you've gone over our FFP. If you don't cut it back this season and you get in, we'll throw you out." And that was why we didn't buy anybody. And you suddenly start thinking, what's going on? Look, let's just celebrate the fact that this has happened now.
Yeah, it's such a boost. It feels like a win on its own right, doesn't it? I've just seen Matt Piper tweet saying maybe we should counter Sue for 10 points.
I was actually on a show the other day, and somebody said to me, they said, what would your ideal scenario be? And I actually said, we get away with it and they give us 10 points compensation.
I wonder what happens with the legal bills and stuff. That'll be interesting. Who actually foots that bill in the end?
Well, exactly. And you always make the very good point that we're not, and everybody says, "Oh, Leicester City have gone broke. Leicester City have gone broke." We haven't. We've got the money. We're just not allowed to spend it because of the size of the club, and hopefully now we can get back to looking to expand the stadium.
Yeah,
and all that, which will mean we can then spend more on the team.
But it's going to breed good feeling amongst the fans. I think the performance on Saturday did that a bit as well. Like, it was a really good performance from the fans. Everybody was really upbeat and right behind the team and felt like we could have got something. So this as well is really good news. So we just need to continue it on, because there's been a lot of negativity about all of this, and it's tiring and it's exhausting, and it doesn't really help us at the end of the day. It doesn't help us do better.
Right. We will be doing a show tomorrow with Kieran. He's just got back to me. It'll be 5 o'clock. He's rather busy tomorrow, as I'm sure you can understand. But he will be with us at 5. Don't know whether you can join us.
I'm not around at 5, but I will definitely tune in later.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting and really, really good. His wife is not happy. Bless him.
That's great, though, to get him on and just like interpret all of this for us.
Exactly. We're probably having premature celebration here. Story of my life. Kate, thank you so
On that
very much. I have to end on that, And look, I do value your opinion, and you will be having your own opinion. Not next week. I think the week after you take over from me on the BBC for 4 or 5 weeks. So
I did the When You're Smiling podcast last night as well, actually, for anyone wanting to listen to that.
You get that quiet?
I only got told about an hour before I went on yesterday.
Tell us.
So yeah, I was on the When You're Smiling podcast yesterday with Owen and Matty Piper. So give that a listen, because we do talk about in quite a bit of detail, because Matty and Owen really understand the mechanics of like 6s and 8s in midfield, and the double pivot, and Winks and Ndidi and Skip, and how they all intertwine with each other. And it's a really good debate about what is that best midfield for Leicester. Because I think if we get that right, we've got so much options attacking wise now to pull on, and it could be quite exciting actually, which would really annoy the Premier League.
I'm not saying that you are slightly, but let me just play this really. Oh, Owen. Oh.
Oh, they're both so great. I learnt lots yesterday.
I'll go with that one.
Yeah, it's a good listen about the midfield. And
where can people listen? They can listen. I think it's on any podcast platform. When You're Smiling, I think it's on Spotify as well. When You're Smiling podcast. So yesterday's episode. So yeah, we talk about. There will be a link, I'm sure, on the bbc.co.uk.
There should be a link.
LCFC. This is what I love about you. See, I talk. I've got no idea what a fucking false 9 is. Like I said, the only things I know that are false are boobs. But and this is why. And when I have these arguments with you, this is why you always win, because you can always shoot me down with your superior knowledge. But
the double pivot is, as much as I've heard of it, and I think I understand it. It's great to hear like Matty talk about it, because he's a former pro and he understands how that can really change a game, and it's how important it is to have the right personnel and the flexibility to do that. So that's a really good listen for any sort of formation geeks out there, really, I would say.
Brilliant. Tell people where they can find you.
They can find me on Twitter or X at Kate Blakey 40.
Get over there and give her a follow, guys. She knows her stuff. Kate, thank you so very, very much. I will see you in about 5 weeks' time.
That is mental. Absolutely mental. We'll have
That's if the plane doesn't disappear over the Philippines or something.
Oh, don't say that. Well, you and Luke will be united, which will be exciting.
Yes, me and Luke, he's doing me a Barbie. Yeah, and his Barbies are big, believe you me. And whether I'll be able to eat it all. He's already got me order in. So a couple of nights with Luke and Steph, who I met the other day online. I think it was, or was it Babe Station? No, it was Steph. Definitely was Steph. And then kill me. And then 3 weeks in on the Gold Coast, and I'm not even. Well, I probably will do, but I'm saying I'm not even going to be looking at the footy.
Of course you will.
Of course I will.
Part of relaxing as well. You've just not got to do the hustle and bustle of the shows and stuff.
Exactly. I'm going to enjoy it. Kate, as always, thank you so very, very much.
No
Well
worries.
done. Well done on that podcast. Go and check it out, people, When You're Smiling podcast, and have a great time writing for the BBC.
Will do. See you later.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye-bye. Do get over and give Kate a follow. She does know her stuff. And do check out that podcast as well. And like I say, when I do have these discussions, I'm a fan. I don't understand false 9 pivots, and number 8. I don't understand all that. But I do have to sort of put away across my point of view. So don't think that we ever fall out on here. I do have to play devil's advocate. That's the whole idea of the show, that we create some discussion. Found out. No point deduction. Listen, Kate, greatly. She is great, isn't she? She really, really is. Not sure what you mean, Jamie. And like you say, fans from other clubs, Ronald, hopefully we will be celebrating with us again tonight. This isn't a win just for us. This is a win for every Premier League team. Just remember that. Look, thank you so very, very much, everybody. Really, really, really appreciate you joining in. Thanks to Craig, who came on his holiday. Obviously, that's going above and beyond. So thank him for that as well. What great news! What a great news for it to come live on the show. Breaking news. So thanks to Kate, thanks to Craig. Their links are in the description below. Thank you to everybody that's been in the chat. Really, really, really appreciate you joining us tonight. Yes, sorry. Indeed, Jamie. Thank you to everybody, like I say, and if you're watching this on catch-ups, stick a note down below, but make sure you keep it respectable. Don't forget, please like the video. Look, come on, we've just not going to get a points deduction. Like the video, come on, have a celebration. Subscribe if you are new, and why not click that notification bell? And if you want to become a member, please do. I paid 77 quid out the other day so I can do watch-alongs for you. So please do help support the channel. It's $1.99 a month. Links below in the chat on YouTube. $1.99. You can't even get half a pint for that these days. So look, this has been LTID TV. I've been Chris, and you know what? I'll be back tomorrow at 5 with Kieran Maguire talking PSR. See ya. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.